You appeared recently, and I actually had a guy come up to me in the gym randomly to tell me, yeah, I saw Clay on Stephen A. Smith's podcast. He did a good job, which I think is funny. So I'm like, I will pass that along to Clay. So well done, sir.
We sometimes get messages. I love when people come up and they're like, hey, can you tell Buck that I saw him on this the big podcast you
Sean
did with
Ryan's
the military.
podcast.
Sean Ryan's podcast. I'll be like, I'll tell Buck that I appreciate
I'm like,
you liked
you
it.
want me to just take a message to Clay? Sure. That's what I'm here for. I'll take a message to Clay for you. Anyway, but you were on Stephen A. Smith's podcast, and he's I think it's just fair to say the biggest, most recognizable name over at ESPN. I mean, I know who Stephen A. Smith is. I can't name anybody else at ESPN. He's the only one that I'd be able to name. And he said something. I thought this was really interesting because we just had Memorial Day weekend, and there was so little news coverage of this. And he's calling it out. Play 21.
Where's the due diligence when it comes to putting a spotlight on what we're doing to each other? Because this shit is pissing me off. 53 lives. 53 in one weekend. It's not the first time this has happened. Where's the noise at? Where's the protest? Where's mainstream media talking about that? Where is it? That's what I want to know.
I appreciate the passion and the honesty and the truth. Clay, the fact that you had 53 people shot in one city in one weekend is how can anyone think that that's a status quo that doesn't demand immediate change?
Yeah, and look, this is one of those conversations, and I would like to think that maybe partly it was our discussion, Buck, but we got into talking on the Stephen A. podcast about police shootings. And there's a Washington Post database. We've talked about it on this show. You can go look it up. But Stephen A. was talking about, hey, how come we don't ever hear about a white person getting shot by the cops or Hispanic? I'm paraphrasing again based on our conversation. I'd encourage you to go listen to it. And I said, well, actually, police shootings, 75% of people who get shot by police are white, Hispanic, or Asian. 25% are black. But we only hear about police shootings involving black people because that is the salacious division, identity politics narrative that the media wants to sell, that we all hate each other and that America is a fundamentally racist place. And look, I wish no one got shot by police, right? I wish certainly police had a lot safer job. I wish there was way less violence in this country. But that's a stat that staggers, I think, a lot of people on the left because they believe that police are only shooting black people. And so the data reflects over 90% of black murder victims are killed by other black people, right? Most of the time, you are going to be a victim of someone of your own race because by and large, your family, you're surrounded by people who look more like you than look different, right? That's just the way that American life works. But the only time you hear about a black death is when there's a white person involved in it. So why does the media, it's a great question Stephen A. is asking, why does the media for the most part not care about black death? It's not Black Lives Matter. It's Black Lives Matter when white people are involved in taking them, which is a tiny, tiny pinprick of the overall black death rate. And unfortunately, Buck, as you well know, the legacy of BLM so far has been that thousands of black people are dead, many in inner cities, because police can't do their job to help protect everyone.
And Chicago, as a microcosm of Democrat policies and a place that has been the daily, for Mayor Daley of Chicago, the daily political machine and the Democrat control and the iron-fisted Democrat rule in Chicago with its very strict gun laws, I should note, that clearly just keep law-abiding good people from defending themselves. It's all a failure, top to bottom, the whole thing. Their police approach, none of it is working. And the only people that they can blame are Democrats. And Chicago just elected. And it was really tragic because it was mostly the black voters of Chicago who made this decision. Another mayor, a black mayor, who is horrible on the issue of crime. So it's not going to change. But I appreciate Stephen A. Smith calling out the truth for people to hear.